Hey everybody, welcome to Cignals Trading Academy. This is lesson number 10 and our final lesson of the freshman year. And today we are going to be going over value rotation and advanced volume profile. So before we begin, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who is a subscriber of this channel. Thank you so much, guys. It really means a lot to us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please just do us a favor. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and if you have anybody that you know who's looking to advance or start their order flow volume profile, auction theory, trading, process, or begin their journey or continue their journey, share the videos with them, guys. That would really mean a lot to us. It helps us grow. It helps us continue to do this for free and provide you guys as much value as humanly possible. So again, thank you to all subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Turn on notifications. And to all of our Cignals customers that are paying to use the platform, whether that's basic, advanced, whatever, we really do appreciate you guys, especially the guys, our legacy tier guys that have been with us since day one. It means a lot that you support us and believe in us and really do enjoy what it is that we've been able to deliver thus far. And for those of you who haven't subscribed yet to Cignals, the link is in the description to the platform, cignals.io, cignals.io. But really, it's the basic tier is $19 a month, and it's really powerful if you are trading like on a day trading basis, or if you're looking to scalp or even swing trade. It really helps. So it's less than 1 Ethereum gas fee a year if you were to sign up for the basic. The advanced provides so much more, and it's really not expensive either on a yearly basis. So consider giving it a try, guys. And with that being said, we have some news at the end of this video, so if you want to stick around to the end of the video, we have some news on stuff that we're working on, and I think you guys will find it real exciting. So with that being said, let's hop into this. So value rotation and advanced profile. Okay, so what does that all mean, right? Well, let's start with value, and that's something that we talk about all the time here, guys. Is trading value, not price. Everything's about context, understanding your markets, right? That goes back to the first lesson that we had here in Cignals Trading Academy with, what you need to know, the absolute basics, and then the game planning. Find your market, understand how your market moves, context, what moves your market, and then understanding where value is, right? So with that being said, guys, here we have a chart, a 4-hour cluster of BTC USDT on Binance, okay? And this is, I'm looking for a good example to show you. So I'm going back in time to, what is this, March 27th, right? And this is actually a pretty good example because it does provide a lot of context. And especially, this is why a little bit of digression here, but this is why I said in the beginning a minute or two ago, if you were a member of Cignals, right, especially the advanced tier where you have access to the Discord, our alpha Discord channels, like the channels that you don't see as just like a regular member of our Discord, we went over this whole entire thought process from moving off the 33K bottom, 34K bottom a few months back, grinding back into the 40s, kind of chopping sideways to down when we were around, let's see, going back here, when we were around, 37, 38 for a while, right? And here's even a great example as well. So we're like, understand the context, right? All markets are just advertisements for price. It's an advertisement of price. It's basically trying to get some form of acceptance of price, right? So when we talk about value rotations and POC rotations and things like that, it's important to understand the context in which they happen in. So from here, this is the 37.5 bottom that we created before we started to launch into 42K pivot, right? And if you notice, well, let's go up here. If you notice here, we one tick the bottom of this profile, we move off it back into range. We have POC right here. Let's start. We have POC right here, right? So we start to move back into range. We've been going sideways, failing every time we get to about 40, chopping between 37.5, 40, and just failing. Ton of UFA, which is signs of indecision, reversal, all that, creating, and a lot of absorption, going back to the other video we had before, a lot of absorption. So that was another signal. But again, in low volume, it was very dicey trading. I personally was not convinced bears had the initiative in this range, right? And we were trading in the bottom end of our trading range, closer to the lows than we were the previous swing highs. So if you look here, again, POC was right here, okay? And then all of a sudden we get, now we move the chart, but POC started to, price started to move away from the point of control, right? Here we are. So let's look here. Point of control, somewhere in this region right here. We're trading in this area for quite some time. All of a sudden, price starts to move away from POC, right? So now we're moving away from the POC, the point of control, okay? Which means that the perception of value is changing, and we're getting a trend day, right? We're getting trend day here from this candle here on the 14th to the 16th. Now we're starting to get some trends, okay? We're starting to move away from POC. And then we put in a little bit, some, UFA up here, go sideways, and again, continue to pull away. So this is what we see here. When we start to make this move, and as we trade out over here, we get our first rotation of value, okay? We get our first rotation of value, meaning that the VPOC, the volume point of control, has moved away from its previous place, which was in the lower end of this trading range around UFA support, okay, around the lows, 38, 37, 39, as we're, making that correction, or not really correction, but as we started to correct higher from the recent lows of about 33, 34K, we couldn't get above 40. We went sideways to down for a while, but made a higher low and then aggressively got a trend day and moved away from it. So the value of perception was changing, okay? Then we got our POC coming in at about 41,000, okay, after the fact. We started to move. We couldn't really break out. We tried breaking out, okay? Then all of a sudden, we get higher lows here, and boom, we're off, okay? And then, again, dip down. In these situations, you're always going to, and when you get these type of trend days, when you see value rotation and you get trend days and value changing, what you're going to see are these low volume nodes in the middle of where POC used to be and where POC is now. Okay, these are rejection areas. Price moved away from it aggressively, and essentially there was no agreement on price here. The agreement on value became more evident once POC rotated up here, right? So we got a movement away from value originally over here with this trend day that we've got, one of these 4-hour clusters in this the day of the 16th of March. Okay, we get these pullbacks that are just aggressively bought. We pull up, pull back, aggressively bought, pull up again, bought, higher highs, okay, and then again bought. And then we start to get agreement of value at about 41K, right? So POC rotated. Once POC rotates, guys, value has changed. Your context has changed. So we need to understand, why POC rotated, where it rotated from, and if you were looking for, let's say, a continuation of this downtrend, right, from 39, 40, 38, whatever, down further to, let's say, the swing lows, which were about 33, 34K, and you were basing all of this off of PAC being in a compressed range and not really having any upside momentum to take it, higher and to our levels that we were looking for, like 41, 42K. You need to change. You don't want to be hoping, like praying, just keep adding to a short when we're clearly getting all the telltale signs of trends reversing where we had PAC. We're getting low volume nodes as price moves away from PAC, right? And then we keep getting absorption on every pullback, higher lows, higher highs, right, which we just went over. And then value ultimately changes. The perception of value ultimately changes because we see the rotation of PAC to 41K essentially, all right? Price is accepted at that level because if we look back down here, where everything started to rotate. We're getting higher volume. We had some lower volume in the middle here, right? So we really didn't get the rotation until volume came in to confirm it, which it did in this little area right here. And as we continue moving on, you see volumes confirming it. We're getting higher than normal volume. For the most part, on these moves down, people are buying aggressively into it. Then we get this little spike here higher to over 42K towards 43, 44K, which again, if you were in our Discord, these are levels we were going over for quite some time. So you got that rotation higher. Again, here's the shift. PAC is now officially at 41K. And if we look, right, all these dips in these trend type days where you get, when you get pullbacks into, because like basically as PAC's rotating or a value's rotating, you're going to get what's called a double distribution, right? You're going to get an area where PAC was previously and the range was previously. You're going to get a move away from that range, meaning that price perception of value is changing. And then rejection or low volume nodes in between that because it's essentially buyers and sellers jockeying for position until there's an agreed upon new area of value where if it's an up day like we saw here, sellers step back in and ultimately keep us capped before we make our next move, which is what happens. You see these, but we never really get back to the previous PAC, which is why it rotates, right? So we see, and that's a very big lesson in and of itself with regard to advanced profile, because we're going to get more into this specifically, but I wanted to lump together value rotation and advanced profile together to cap off the freshman year, because it's a great segue into the sophomore year where we'll begin with risk and understanding, how to construct trading plans, if you will. So with regard to that, you usually never get back to the previous PAC, and you get that area of low volume in between because every dip, it depends on the direction, but for the sake of example, we're talking about an up situation from low to high. So every dip is bought, you know what I mean? You never get back to PAC because every dip is bought. You just keep making higher lows until ultimately, again, you shift the dynamic from a supply-driven area of trading into a demand area into a supply area, meaning that the initiative goes from, and that's all markets are. They go back and forth between supply and demand, like areas of supply and areas of demand. So ultimately, we were trading in that compressed range just very shallowly off lows from the massive move down to 34K where everybody thought, or 33, when we thought we were going to like 25, 28, all that good stuff. And we were trading only a few thousand off those lows for quite some time, and supply, like we were in a balanced profile. Like, I mean, if we go back and look, hang on a sec. So if we go back and look, we were trading down here for a long time. I mean, let's just like look at this profile as an example. Okay, again, we know I'm not the best with lines, so you got to forgive me, guys. Here we look and we see that we were trading in this range for quite some time. For a very, very long time. We were trading in this range, okay? And, we were kind of just fading the extremes. Every time we got down here, we would buy. And every time we got up here, we would sell. And it would just kind of work. You see it here, for the most part, you would fade 39s, 40 into 37s, and it worked. Okay, so this is one of those things. And you even got a little bit of a distribution here. It wasn't a double distribution, but you had a VPOC shift on the 4 hour here because we weren't, but the perception of value didn't really change. That's all what I'm trying to say. Context, guys, right? Like, you're not getting super bullish because, again, it comes back to what I said in the beginning. Where did you rotate from and where did you rotate to? So here we only rotated from 39 to about 39, whatever, on the button or a little under to about 39, 2 or 3. So there's really, nothing to glean from that. It's just that we're distributing heavily in this range, and price is very much in value, and buyers and sellers agree that this is the best perception of value with the information we have at hand. That's another thing. In these situations, price will just generally rotate from tail to tail, and just rotate fade the extremes more or less until new information comes in that changes the perception of value, right? So we got that here, right? We got that here, big rotation off of the lows, okay? But there really wasn't, we got this, from 37.5 to 42. We set the range here, okay? So you see, like, here we set the range and it faded. We got UFA, NPOC, big, reversal, and then we kind of just traded in range for a while. So we got an indication that we wanted to extend higher. We never got the rotation of POC, though. Price wasn't accepted here. You understand? You see the UFA, you see the NPOC, these, signs of reversal. See, POC was starting to set up here, but no. We got basically sellers coming in telling us that, no, this is not where we'll do business with you. We're going to fade this. And you got this with the UFA up here too, which is why I came back to clear that out. Ultimately, that's another story for down the line. But anyway, never got the volume to confirm it because, again, price is just an advertisement, okay? The volume is what confirms it. So price being up here, you never got the volume. You got all the signs on the tape of a reversal. We start trading in range again, and we just kind of faded these extremes back and forth until something changed. The perception of value changed, and we got a distribution in a higher part of the range with volume confirming it. So again, start to rotate off those lows, okay, back into the 42K area where we failed from before. Again, context. And with regard to context, it's the same situation here. You didn't have a ton of volume confirming moves back towards the highs where we failed from previously. You see here, really on all these moves up, it was faded on the delta was negative, if anything. So you didn't really have any moves to confirm what it was you were seeing until volume stepped back in, right? The order flow started to confirm what you were seeing at lows, right? Here you go. Now here's your perception of value changing. You're getting the order flow to confirm it, okay? You're getting a POC rotation. POC has rotated now, okay? And if you look, the volume increases considerably from where it was. Once we start rotating, you get higher spikes of volume come in, you get your higher lows, you continue to rotate through, and what happens again? You get another shift, if you will, in POC. Because look, again, the same exact setup plays out. We rotated, context changed, guys, okay? We got these. Now, you never usually see triple distributions. This I wouldn't consider as such. I consider this another double distribution here. You see the same things as we saw lower in the range. Once we finally broke out and we got volume confirming that breakout, right? Okay, we got volume confirming that breakout. Context, guys. Now we've broken through the previous highs, which was 42K, where we failed from previously when we kind of popped out of that 37 to 39, 40K range. And again, we set the range from about 37.5 to 42.5. No volume or delta really confirming it. Dumps back into range, 38, 39K. We go sideways. start to pop and try to break out, okay, but we don't get that rotation in POC on volume and delta until about 41K, where buyers and sellers agree on value. And then we start to, again, new information came in that changed the value of perception once again. And we got another trend day, and we got another spike in price over 42 into the previous failures that took us from 44, originally 45, down to 33, 34. And now here you can see positive delta. Even here when it starts to dump, neutral delta, we get this change in perception of value, okay? And we start to rotate higher again. And then POC changes again. Okay, POC changed hands from 41-ish, right, down here to about 42. Okay, it happened very quickly because there's a lot of trading in this area. As you can see here, a lot of trading in this area. So we got, like what we spoke about before, we really didn't get a trend or a serious change in POC. We got some information kind of telling us that the perception of value was skewing higher. We had it on pretty decent delta and pretty decent volume. So order flow now is confirming that. So that's your second layer of decision making, okay? And then we start to once again pull away from POC. If you notice, this is kind of like a repeating, scenario, paradigm here. We pull away, okay? And we go and we trade in range. We get a lot of volume here. And what do you know? We got NPOC, right? Starting to create another point of control, okay? As you can see, all these pullbacks are shallow, another NPOC. And what happens? You get your low volume rejection areas, your shift in POC to about 44.2, 44.5, because you had NPOC try to establish up here. It was starting to establish. We pulled away a little bit, and then buyers stepped back in, and buyers and sellers agreed on price once more. And then what happened? Once again, context changed the value of perception. We created a bottom here, right? And we launched into 47, 48K, which is what we were talking about in Discord for quite some time. And we started to go completely sideways. But what happened? Again, the value, the perception of value changed, and we got another POC rotation, right? And let's see, does order flow confirm this? I mean, once we got up here, you had a big spike in delta, and we kind of more or less died, right? Like once we got up here. But again, the perception of value changed, and we rotated. We had decent volume in this area, but it started to die, right? And then once you get to right about here, you can start to see delta wasn't keeping up with, it started to get heavy. Delta started to turn negative, and that, if you look on a longer time frame chart, which we'll switch to in a minute, this was the extension of range. This was what sellers thought was too far, too fast maybe, right? And range is now about 10,000 wide, from about 38 to 48. So we have a big range, 38 to 48, okay? And now value, or the internals order flow, is starting to reverse, okay? So what happens? We start to trade back down. We take out the previous floor, the NPOC right here, which was right around our previous point of control. Okay, so we're going back, because once we get rejection, we usually go back into previous value. So you'll see usually a lot of order flow guys will look for previous points of control, previous areas of acceptance, to kind of like as their target when they're going from, let's say, imbalance back to balance, which is what we have here. We had some imbalance. We were going higher. If we look actually, if we look actually on the buy-sell clusters themselves, you see we put in a lot of sell imbalance at the top of the range. For the most part, buyers tried. We really, they really did. They tried, but ultimately, we went back into previous value. We started to collapse. You would get sell and see, like right here, when you see kind of like sell imbalance or buy imbalance at the top or bottom of a cluster, it's usually a sign that you're going to get squeezed. What's what happened? You had a little false break there, higher. Okay, if you look, they squeezed real hard on people trying to, I guess, get through the See, they defended previous value again. So you saw here people stepping back in, squeezing, but again, nothing keeping us here for the most part. It was more or less a squeeze. We tried to keep getting back over 47, couldn't really do it. Okay, so now again, context is key. We know our range is more or less set at this point from 48 to about 38, 37, 5, right? So again, it's very important in the grand scheme of things, knowing where you are, where the perception of value is order flow confirming this. Look at the distributions, okay? We failed from, like, once we have these trend days, these imbalanced profiles where if you go back here, you see them a little bit better, right? Like you're moving away really fast from previous value into a new area of acceptance, and you kind of have this this like weird skewy profile, an imbalanced profile. This is going to correct if order flow and volume cannot confirm that price is going to be accepted at these prices and continue seeking discovery higher, right, for resistance. So we found the resistance at 48K. Range was set. We dropped back in. People wanted to kind of get under previous POC, which again, 44, 44 and a half we were talking about. Okay, so they trapped some buyers here, or excuse me, sellers here, squeezed them, but we, again, could not get over 47, could not get back to 48. And then once more, the perception of value changes. We dump pretty heavily on big volume. We try to get some buyers in, can't really do it, continue to dump. VWAP is very important in this too, to understand value, understanding where your POC is, where VWAP is, where current price lie. That's all very important. We're going to get more into that, how this all kind of plays into each other and how to use this to formulate trading strategies. But you can see the relationship between POC and VWAP and current price. It's very important. You can see as we continue to fall, or excuse me, as we continue to try to buy into these lows as we fall, VWAP doesn't really start changing in slope. We if anything, get one slight slope change, and that's really it. It ends, and we start to continue to dip lower, and realistically on very big delta, no order flows confirming that we're going to retest these highs at this point. We're getting some serious negative delta here. The volume is big on these drawdowns, and it's skewed heavily negative. So we have a lot of order flow confirming that the top's in for the most part. You see here the absorption at the swing pivot of 47K, couldn't get back up into the 48K region, and again the value perception change, or excuse me, the perception of value changes. We go from having about 6K POC to, or excuse me, 46.5K POC to, again, under the previous area where we launched from 44.5 to 46.5. That rotation, we broke under it finally after squeezing people trying to short below it. Okay, so again, this is all just to give you an idea of context, knowing the vast amount of data points you have to stay on top of news. Markets are fractal too. So this is a 4-hour chart. I mean, the perception of value changes a billion times on a 5-minute chart, on an hour chart, but in the grand scheme of things, value doesn't change very often, comparatively speaking, when you look at a higher time frame, such as a 4-hour, or even if you take it another step further to a daily or a weekly, value might be changing a few times here on a 4-hour, but very rarely will price or value even move whatsoever on a daily chart. Very important to keep that in mind, guys. You don't want to be doing analysis on a 5 minute, see some POC rotation happen, and try to make a move on something like a daily because of that, right? Or vice versa. And also the content you're consuming, news, information, all of that. Try to keep in mind the perspective of the person creating that content. If it's like something like a Squawk Box where, it's a news event where something can move the market immediately, that's different than something that's like a developing plays, like something at the Federal Reserve, that may happen in the course of a couple of days, weeks, something like that. You want to keep everything in perspective, and you don't want to lump it all together and just like hope and pray, because that's not a strategy. And the closer you can get to keeping yourself in the now, your job as a profile trader, order flow trader, especially with regard to profile, the advanced portion of this profile trading is, understanding if price, like again, price is just an advertisement, guys. Like, you know what I mean? When value moves, like, it's rotated, it's up to you to basically, do I trade to continue trading in this direction, or do I fade this, right? Because at the end of the day, again, it's just an advertisement. You have to have the order flow there, the volume there to confirm the new price. Price precedes value. So again, if it's going to be rejected, you'll know based upon the internals, and vice versa. If it's going to confirm, you'll see the volume stick, the order flow confirm it, and then you'll get moves away from it. And knowing your support your supply and demand areas. So this is how we'll finish with regard to this, because otherwise we'll just keep dragging this on forever, going over nuance. So let's look at this weekly cluster to end this all real quick. Supply areas, right? Areas like this, where you see we had POC in this area around where we failed from, right? The value rotation, we got the same exact setup, started to get a POC forming, right? But couldn't do it. That's a sign of a reversal. Very heavily negative delta in this process at these levels, okay? And as we fall, it's aggressive. It's not for the faint of heart here. You're not going to want to necessarily try to buy these dips, because nothing was there to tell you that the dips were gonna, were there to be bought. It looks like, everything here was telling you that we were topping here. This is a supply zone, okay? And now if we look back over here, before that, what immediately preceded that was a demand zone. Look at this. It's the same thing in reverse. All these sellers are getting gobbled up, right, on big delta, okay? And this was in a previous area of acceptance, okay, with POC, right? And we start to move away. And again, start to move away. Same setup. Same exact setup until we get back into the distribution zone that we just went over, okay? Now if we look up here, we got up here, buyers, 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 but look at how red this is. Look at all the supply coming to market. Look at all the delta telling you that this isn't it, Chief, if you're trying to get long. This ain't it, right? And what happens? We reverse. You get all the telltale signs. The order flow is piecing it together for you guys, right? VWAP, again, VWAP, price, POC, very important, okay? And what happens? We fall back into our demand range, where there's demand. This was our most recent low at 34K, 33 and change, or yeah, like 33 and change, whatever it was. So, again, we knew down here, same exact scenario starting to play out for the most part, right? Buyers really, really stepping up here in this range. It faded from imbalance down to previous acceptance, okay? Back down to POC, we're trading at, in the lower end of this range currently, right, which is this weekly cluster right here. Okay, so now we're we've came down considerably from our last move when we went over on the 4 hour. Look, we got this, we entered this area of demand, right? And we started to move like we went over into the middle of the range. Couldn't get above it, right? We couldn't get above it. We failed and we broke back down, back into acceptance, former POC, right? So what happens now is, again, people are trying to get aggressively short, but we're holding a higher high than we did previously a few weeks back, right? Or excuse me, a higher low than we did previously a few weeks back. So the good thing is that we're finding value down here. Okay, we're trying to move away, or we're finding agreement on value down here. We're trying to move away from it in either direction. But right now, buyers and sellers agree that this area is fair value. Okay, so we're not gonna fade this, right? We're not gonna do anything because we're in the middle of no man's land until we start to move away from this area. We want to enter this zone again, right? We want to get above 48, 49K and enter this area again. Remember what we were talking about before. You want to enter into trades where there's like literally nothing but air on top of you or nothing but air below you, right? If you're long or short. So like right here, we failed in this region before, but above that is nothing. We literally just have to grind up like, through NPOC more or less, and we're pretty much good to go, which is why sellers kind of kept us capped on this last run, because they did not agree that going above 48K, I guess, was warranted, and there weren't enough buyers to change their mind and force the initiative. So the price is always going to take the path of least resistance, right? And in this case, it was down. If it would have changed up here and we got to push higher, it would have been up towards here and then continuing towards the top of this range where we saw nothing but air essentially on top of us until we got to about the 60s where we saw a distribution zone. And that's the process of markets, guys, cycling between supply and demand until something changes the perception of value, you guessed it, and we move in a direction one way or another. So with that being said, guys, that's really it. That's how we're going to end off this freshman year. I hope this was like... this was just an intro to advanced profile. We're going to get a little bit more. This was more about value rotations and how to use them, how to become a better profile trader, because again, it's your job as a profile trader, guys, to once a value rotation happens, a transition of value happens and the perception changes, it's your job, guys, as a profile trader to use the order flow tools that we have available to you on Cignals to confirm that this move is for real. If it was acceptance of value being rotated, transition of value, a successful one, and we're going to continue in the direction of that rotation, or if it was a failure and we're going to ultimately reject the area of rotation that we just went to, and rotate back into previous acceptance. So that's more or less the point of this video, is to just get an idea of how to use POC rotations, value rotations, volume and order flow analysis to confirm where value lies, and to not necessarily just trade price, is to trade value within context and understand, that just because price hit X level doesn't mean N is going to happen, right? Like you have to understand everything happens in context. Keep levels on a notepad from where we find support and resistance on multiple time frames, and understand what time frame you're trading on, and that markets are fractal and that they don't necessarily always translate from the smallest time frame to the largest time frame, that everything happens within context, and that you'll be okay if you just understand the market you're trading, the nuance of that market, and how value is perceived. Okay, and that's really it, guys. We're going to be back with the sophomore year shortly. We also have a lot of stuff coming out on Cignals over the next few months. We're doing a lot of upgrades, guys. It's only $19.99 a month for our basic subscription. you're going to want to get at least the basic subscription because it'll give you access to pretty much everything Signals has to offer. And it's something that I believe if you look at it in sense of like what Ethereum gas fees are for like just to stake a coin on, like one of these LPs or something is going to cost you a few $100s. It's only going to cost you $190 a year for the basic subscription, and you will make that back with one or two really good, setups, maybe even one good setup, if, it's only $190. So, it makes no sense to not give it a try, guys. It'll help your trading tremendously. The advanced tier is even better because you get access to our alpha Discord and to all of our, like traders. We've got great reviews from our users. So if you need a reference or something, feel free to stop in the Discord. The link is in the description. Make sure you hit that like button, guys. Please do us a favor. Like this video, share this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and make sure you keep an eye out for everything new that's coming to Signals. We're going to be working on CME markets, guys. We've been getting a lot of requests for that. Something we have our eye on. We're going to be doing a lot of other stuff, too, with regard to the ability to trade off the platform and ultimately a few kind of secret things that we're working on that I'll allude to a little bit more in the next few videos. But there are big changes coming, guys, and if you haven't signed up and at least created your free account yet, do that now. If you have a free account already, upgrade. Do yourself a favor. At least try it. I guarantee you won't be sorry. I hope you have a great day. I hope this freshman year of Signals Trading Academy was helpful, and I will see you guys sophomore year.